We are starting with number 34. It's where everybody should be, right there on that worksheet. We're starting with number 34. No one should be in Dreambox anymore. Close it out. Everyone should be in the Google Classroom. They open the worksheet that we're working on. You scroll down to number 34. Okay. I got a couple more people that need to go ahead and get themselves to this worksheet, please. You're holding us up. Come on, Armani, get to the worksheet that you need to be on. Come on, Rihanna, get to the worksheet you need to be on. Come on, Kevin, get to the worksheet you need to be on. This worksheet here. Let's scroll to number 34 because we're not doing whatever was above 34. I whited it out on purpose so it didn't bother us. So we're building on what we've done before. It says that we're going to use the table on page 4. We're going to use the table on page 4, and then we're going to work the calculations, and then we're going to come back and fill in our table. Okay, so everybody should be on number 34, and we're about ready to scroll down to the 4th page. Okay, because I see lots of people are on a different tab in their device. So you need to make sure you click on the tab for the assignment, because what's happening is you have other tabs open that you don't need open, and that's what I'm seeing instead of what you should be seeing. So close the tabs that are not this worksheet, Clever, or Blocksy, or Zoom. Okay, so you shouldn't have any tabs open but Zoom, Clever, Blocksy if you see it, and this worksheet. You don't even need the Google Classroom open anymore because you got the worksheet. Okay. All right, so we're going to go down to page 4. We're going to work out the question. What I'm going to do to make it easier on myself is I'm going to take a screenshot of the equation, and I'm going to take it with me down to the bottom. Okay. Now, if you want to do a screenshot of just a little piece, if you want to do a screenshot of just a little piece, then what you do is you hit the control button, the shift button, and that button above the 6, that's a box with 2 lines next to it. It'll gray out the screen like mine does. So when you hit those 3, it'll make this gray like this, and you could make a little box around the piece you want. And you could take it with you down below, okay? And I go add media, but we're going down below with it, down to next to number 34. So I'm gonna add the media. Oh, I didn't save it yet. 1 second. Mine is a little more complicated because it's not the same program as yours. So I have to save it. I'll save it that name, it's fine. Okay. So now it's here for me to pick. And it'll let me have the equation down here to work with. Okay. So this is my rule. Okay, this is my rule. So I'm going to put it in the rule box. It's my rule. And I'm going to use these numbers in that rule. We've done that before, right? One second. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in the -4 to this. We did these a long time ago, but now they're coming back. Equation, click on the box. Okay, I don't need the y equals, I just need the 2 parentheses -4. Let me zoom in just a smidge. Okay, and then according to the rule, I'm supposed to add 1 to that. So what is 2 times -4? What is 2 times -4? Two times -4. 2 times -4. Not 2 plus, 2 times. -8. So I have a -8, and then it says I'm supposed to add 1 to it. Okay, are these the same sign? Are these the same sign? Rihanna, you might have to close the Cami and reopen because it did that for a second. Oh, you might want to have to click over here on the side, Rihanna, and pick. Okay, and then maybe it'll let you in. Okay. Okay, so are these the same sign? No. Okay, if they're not the same sign, what are we going to do? Subtract and then what? How do we know from there? Use the sign of the bigger number. Okay. So subtract. That's 8 take away 1, right? And then what sign is the answer going to be? Okay, so negative what? Eight take away 1? Charlie, worst case scenario, close the cami, go back and reopen and see if it's there. Okay, so negative 7. Okay, so now we're going to do it again for the negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 plus 1. So what's 2 times negative 3? Two times negative 1? It's how much? Two times negative 1. Come on, guys. What's 2 times negative 3? Why did it have to make it like that before you guys actually answered the question? You guys see what you have to do. These are not the same signs, so what do we have to do to them? Subtract and then, okay, so what's my answer gonna be? Negative 5. Keep going. We did these way back. We did these like plotting points. We did these. So the fact that I'm having to push to get you guys to answer is silly. Two times negative 2. Negative 4. And then we have to add 1 back. So what do we get? Negative 3. Thank you. Okay. I'm replacing the negative 2 with a negative 1 now. Okay. So we keep going. Gotta get this. Why did you put it up there? No. There you are. Okay, fine. I'll put you over here and then I'll move you. Sometimes it gets ornery. Okay. Scrolling. 2 times negative 1 plus 1 more. 2 times negative 1 is how much? Negative 2, but I have to add 1 back. So what am I going to have when I'm done? negative 1. Okay. All right, so now we have to put the 0 in. See if it lets us put it. Nope. I'm going to have to keep putting it over here and then moving it. Does it matter? Yeah. Okay, what is anything times 0 worth? What is anything times 0 worth? 0. So this says 0 plus 1, right? So what am I going to get for an answer? One, exactly. Now we keep going. Now we're going to put a 1 in there. So 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is how much? Keep forgetting to put the equal sign here instead of the plus sign. 2. So 2 plus 1. Okay. Make sure you've clicked over here. Make sure you're going off to the side, just like I'm having to do. Okay, so what are we going to put in the next one? Nope, not 2. So what are we putting in the next one? So for whatever reason, it's not letting me type on my form, so I'm off on the side typing it. So what are we going to put in the parentheses this time? What would it look like? What should I type? Yes, 2 parentheses 2 plus 1. That would be the first thing. Thank you. And then equals 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 equals, and then we move it over. And our final answer for this situation is what number? When we do the math. 5. Okay, so what's the next row going to say? Other people should be responding. Okay. So we're going to put 2 times 3, because that's my x is 3 this time, plus 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1. So our final answer is going to be what's our final answer going to be? 7. Last one, and we're going to go move the numbers up above. Okay, what are we going to say? Someone other than Brian. Okay, 2 times 4 plus 1, right? That's our first step. That's going to equal our 8 plus 1. Move that over. Final answer of what? 9. Okay, so we're going to go take these numbers up above. You need to keep in mind our first number was what? -7. And then what did we jump by? It went -7, -5, -3. What's happening? What's happening? How is it changing from one y to the next? -7 to -5, what's happening? You're adding 2. So we know our first one for -4 is -7, and then we're just going to add 2. Okay, so we're going to go up above and put these in the table. We know our -4 was -7, right? And then we went by 2's from there, right? So we're just going to fill this in. These are the numbers we found down below. And we're just putting them in the table now. We went down below because we needed this space to work. Okay, so I'm just writing in the answers we already figured out. And I'm going by 2's because that's what we realized was happening down there. Yeah. I don't want that. I want that. Okay, so we're not calculating anything anymore. We've already done these. We're just putting the answers up here because we're going to graph them. And some of you should have found this familiar because we had done it way back when we started and we were plotting points and we found the table of values. So this is just bringing back stuff we already learned earlier. Assuming that you guys participated earlier, it would be a review. If you didn't participate earlier, then obviously it's not going to be a review because you didn't do it the first time. It's going to feel new. Okay, is that all of them? Did we finish filling in the table? Okay, so now we've got to go ahead and look at what's happening. And we're refreshing what we already know. When we look at the table, inputs are X's, outputs are Y. Okay. So this is asking us to, what are the greatest X and Y values in the table? Okay, so we're doing a text box because we're responding to something in writing. Okay, what is the greatest X value in the table? What's the biggest X on our table? What's the biggest X on our table? 4. And the greatest Y value is, what's our biggest Y? What's our biggest Y? 9. Okay, then it asks, what are the smallest X and Y values? Okay, so now we're going to add in the smallest. So the smallest X value is, and they usually do a little dash between these, so I'm going to go put the dash in. What's the smallest X that we have showing in our table? -4. Okay, and then they want to know the smallest Y value. -7. Okay. We're using that information to set up the correct X and Y scale. Now, we do not want to go ahead and have it set up so it's too hard to make the graph. Okay, we want to be able to use the lines and have them help us because we're not making new lines of our own. We're not making new lines of our own. Okay, we're using the lines we have. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're setting up the scale correctly. Okay, if I'm starting at -4 for my x, and I'm going all the way to +4 for my x, is it okay if every line is worth 1? Do I have enough space for that to happen? So let's look. If I'm going ahead and I'm counting, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines, right? 9 lines between the center and the arrow. Is that enough space to fit down to -4? Would -4 fit there? Okay. And I have 9 lines positive. Will +4 fit in there? Okay, so can I fit from +4 to -4 on my graph? Do I have enough space? I actually have enough space to go like this and do every other line, because that would still get me 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. So I can go to my smallest. I can go every other line, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can go +4. So I can use every other line for my x's. Now, my bottom y, -7. How many lines do I have from the center down to the arrow? How many lines do I have between the center and the arrow? Count them, guys. How many lines do I have from the center to just before the arrow? How many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9. I need to fit -7. Can I do the skip thing? Will that work? To skip and still fit 7? No, so I have to use every line. 1, 2, 3. I'm not making new lines. I'm just highlighting the lines they already gave me. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So -9. So how many do you think it goes up? So am I going to be able to skip for the up if I have to go up to +9? No. So I'm again using every line. If you want to use the line feature, it's fine. I'm just using the draw feature. You could choose the line feature to make your dashes more straight, because mine end up going wiggly at the end for some reason. But you're highlighting the line and using every line. This is going up to +9. Ooh, that was horrible. Trying again. +9. Okay. And we're going to go put. Now, so do I have to use the same in each direction? No. I just have to keep my x's all the same and my y's all the same. Okay. So For the x's, I'm going by halves. Each line is worth a half. Some of you need to fix your cameras. Yes, I still see you when I go into share. Okay, so these are going by halves because each line would be half, because here's one. The line would be half, okay? The y's are going by ones. You do not have to have x and y's go the same way. X's can be going one way and y's can be going another. We're now going to go put our points on the graph, starting at -4, -7. So -4, -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want a little bigger dot than that. Notice if you line up your x, so it's right in the corner, it's perfect. Okay, and that is the coordinate -4, -7. Ooh, that needs to be smaller. Okay, then we have to go to get the next one. What's the next coordinate? -3 what? -3 what? What's the next coordinate? -3, -5. So I go to my -3 and I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I put my X right so it blends in. And I do my dot. And I go over and I get my coordinate maker. -3, -5. -3, -5. Okay, where's our next one going? Where's our next one going? -1, -3. Nope, -2, -3. Sorry. Now, remember, if we're talking about coordinates, it should be in parentheses, just like Janessa did on hers. So make sure you have yours in parentheses. So I'm going to go to -2 and go down 1, 2, 3. Make my little X match the middle. Put my dot. Go over, get my coordinate. -2, -3. Okay. Now, why it's important that it's in parentheses is the parentheses tells the reader that it's a coordinate, not two numbers. Okay. So make sure you do your parentheses because you are talking about a coordinate, an XY coordinate, not two numbers. Okay, what's the next one going to say? What's the next one going to say? What happened to -1? -1, -1. Okay. And I'm going to put this coordinate on this side because I want it to show up and not be blended in with the axis. So I put it on this side and over here next to the dot. Then, like Janessa said, it's 0, 1. When X is 0, Y is 1, up 1. And this one can go on either side. Let's go over here. Do a couple on this side. 0, 1. No, I did not want to do that. Try again. Okay, what's the next one? What's the next one going to be? We're at 0, 1. What's the next one? 1 comma what? Make sure you're in parentheses for your coordinates. Make sure you're in your parentheses for your coordinates. We already did 0, 1, 1, 3. Oh, okay. Then what? 2, 5. Then what? 3, 7. Let me get this guy lined up. 3, 7. Now, it does not matter which side of the dot you put your coordinate on. It just needs to be near its dot. Okay. And then our last one, 4, 9. Okay. That should feel basic. We've done those before. Okay, so we plotted them. We labeled our axis with the number of the scale. That's what those 9 and the -4 and all that is. That's telling the reader what our scale is. Okay. And then it says, use the information to plot. Okay. Are we connecting these dots or not? Do we have any idea what these dots stand for? Do they tell us it's like cars and houses or anything like that? Are these part of a word problem? Was there any word problem involved in this equation, this question? No. So they did not tell us that these are part of a word problem, so that means we do connect the dots. Let's go get your line. Line up with the last dot. Connect it to the first dot. Because they didn't tell us that these stood for something that we couldn't take part of. Okay. It's just a general number, so that means I can put in 1.2 for x if I feel like it. It's not, there's no indication that these x's stand for physical objects like cars or houses or trees or stuff. So we connect them, okay? Remember, the only time we don't connect them is when we know that they stand for a thing that has to stay whole. They stand for a thing that has to stay whole. Okay, so we're going to go do our new equation. So this actually should say page 5. So we're going to first get our equation. Take our equation with us down below. Okay. Going down to number 35's table, right there. Okay. And we're going to put the rule in. So add media from file. Second screenshot for me. And I'm going to put it out here and then move it because it's my rule. Okay. We're going to do the same thing we just got done doing. Okay. We're going to put the x they told us in to replace the x and find out what the number value is going to be. So this one says -3 times -4 right? And then it wants us to add 1. Okay, so what is a negative times a negative? What is a negative times a negative? Going to get us. They're both the same sign. So when they're both the same sign and we're multiplying, what do we get? When they're both the same sign and we're multiplying, what do we get? Positive or negative? When they're both the same sign, we get positive. Okay, so then we need 3 times 4. So positive 3 times 4, what would that be? The number 12. No more negative sign. And then it says to add 1, right? So what's our answer for this one going to be? 13. Because 12 plus 1 makes 13. Okay, doing it again. Negative 3 times, this time it's a negative 3, I see for my x, plus 1. I know things that are negative, both are negative, I'm going to make it a positive. 3 times 3 makes what? 9. Yep. And then it says to add 1. So we put that over there because that's our work, right? This is our work. What's our final answer going to say? 10. Okay. Okay, keep going. Negative 3 times what this time? Negative 3 times what? Negative 2. I know 2 negatives make a positive. So what is 3 times 2? 6. And then the equation says add 1. Okay. So what's my final answer going to be? 7. Okay. Next one says negative 3 times negative 1. Then add 1. Okay. So what do I get when I do that multiplication? Negative 3 times negative 1 gets us what? 3. And then we're supposed to add 1 to it to get our final answer of what? 4. Okay. Someone tell me what I'm going to write on the next row. What am I going to write on the next row? What am I going to write on the next row? Okay, negative 3 times 0. Negative 3 times 0. And that's because the x is 0. And then plus 1 means 0 plus 1. Right? Which just gets us 1. How about the next row? What's the next row? What am I going to put in for the first piece? Don't do past the equal sign. Just do the first part leading up to the equal sign. What am I going to put in? What am I going to put in? Stop at the equal sign. Don't do the part after the equal sign. Is the negative 3 going to change? Has it changed yet? So what am I going to put in? Don't do the part after the equal sign, only the part before the equal sign. What are we going to write? Okay, negative 3 times positive 1 plus 1 more according to the rule. Now, I have a negative times a positive. What's my sign going to be? What's my sign going to be? What's your sign going to be? Negative times a positive. What's the sign going to be? Negative. And then I do a 3 times 1. So negative 3 times 1 makes negative 3. Okay, then it says, according to the equation, I have to add 1 back to that. So what am I going to get? Negative 2. Okay. So now we say, what's the next one going to say? Only go to the equal sign. Don't do the part after the equal sign. Negative 3 times positive 2 plus 1. Okay, so negative times positive, I know my answer is negative. 3 times 2, 6, and then I'm supposed to add 1 back, right? Add 1 back. An exclamation point, a 1. So if I start at negative 6 and I add 1 back, my answer would be what? Negative 5. Okay, let me move my camera. Okay, right? Right? Okay, what's the next one say? Okay, negative 3 times 3, and then plus 1. I know I have 1 positive, 1 negative, so it's a negative 9 plus 1. So what are we going to get? What are we going to get? Negative 8. Okay, last one. What's it going to say? Negative 3 times 4. Now we notice the negative 3 isn't the part that's changing, just what they told me for x is changing. I know it's negative. 3 times 4. 12. Got to add 1 back to it though. So what's my final answer? Negative 11. Okay, we're going to move these up above again. So we look again. What's happening between the numbers? What's going on? To go from one y to the next, what are we doing? To go from one y to the next, what are we doing? So if I go from 13 to 10, from 10 to 7, from 7 to 4, what's happening? We're subtracting 3. So we know we start at a positive 13 with the negative 4, and we keep subtracting 3. So we're going to go back above. We start at 13. That was our first one. And we keep subtracting 3 to fill in the table. So 10, 7, Okay, so we're just subtracting 10 over 3 over and over because that's what we figured out was happening. So I'm not recalculating anything. I'm just copying the stuff from down below, and I'm doing it because I know I'm supposed to subtract 3 over and over. I put the first one in and I just do that instead of having to go back and forth and look. Okay. Last one. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. So then it asks us, examine your X and Y's in this table. In other words, they want us to look at what's the highest and what's the lowest for the X's and Y's. So let's go do that. Our greatest X, our greatest Y, our lowest X, our lowest Y. So the greatest X value is, what was our greatest X value for this table? For this table, what's our biggest X value? 4, okay? 4. Our greatest Y value what's our largest Y? What's the biggest Y we had? What's the biggest Y we had? 13. Okay. The smallest X value is -4. And the smallest Y value is -11. So it's asking, now that we've examined, is it possible to put this line on the same graph as we did in 34? Would the scale match? Okay. Would we need to change the X's? So did the X values smallest and largest change from number 34 to number 35? Did the smallest and largest X change? Did the smallest and largest X change? No. Did the smallest and largest Y change? Yes. So if I were to try and put this on number 34, so we're going to scroll back to it and look like it. Is there even room for our largest Y and our smallest Y? Is there room on this one for that? Is there room on this graph for a -13 or +13 and -11? Is there room for the Y's? No. So could we do the second equation on this same graph? No. Okay. So is it possible to use the same set of axes? No, you cannot use the same set of axes because the Y values are larger. We could leave it at that because a -11 is larger, you know. You have to go to a higher number than 9. Need more, more than 9 spaces, lines. Okay, that's what we mean by larger. You need more than 9 lines. Okay, so we're going to have to graph this one on this table graph instead of the other one because there's not enough space. So that means the y's cannot go by 1 because there's not enough space for the y's to go by 1. The x's could be the same. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the x's as we did before. Same thing for the x's that we did before. Oop, nope, I got to change this 1 second. This has to be a 2 to make the lines first. Okay, I still can go 1, 2, 3, 4 to get me -4, right? That still fit. I can still do 1, 2, 3, 4 to get me the +4 for the x because the x did not change. The problem was the y's. Okay, I cannot do 1s, right? Because I only have 9 lines. So what must I be doing the y's by instead of 1? What must I do the y's by instead of 1 so I can fit up to 13 and down to -11? Because there's only 9 lines, I can't go by 1s. So what must I go by? How much do we want to make each line worth so I can go up to a +13 and down to a -11? So what are we going to make each of these lines worth? We can't count by 1s. So what do we need to count by instead? We can't go by 1s. So what do we have to count by instead? What are we going to say? What is each line going to be worth? If we can't go by 1s, what would be the next logical to go by? If we can't go by 1s, yeah, 2. So if we're going by 2, if each line stands for 2, not 1, 2, what number am I going to say up here the y's are worth if each of these is worth 2? So I go 2, 4, 6, I keep going all the way to the top. What am I going to get? If I count each line by 2s, how far am I going to get when I keep counting? 18. Okay, it's going to be 18. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We stop at 18. Okay. What about going downward? What am I going to get? -18. Okay, so we got to go graph our points. Our first point says -4 is 13, but 13 is not a divide by 2, right? So we're going to have to put our dot in between 2 lines. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 would be halfway. And I'm going to go get the bigger dot. 13 would be halfway between 12 and 14, right? So that's my -4, 13. So we're going to have to put them between lines because our lines are going with 2's and our numbers are not 2's. All right, what's our next one? -3 what? -3, 10. 10 does go by 2, so yay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Gets to go right in the corner. Okay. How about our next one? Oops, extra parentheses in here, man. What about our next one? -4, 13, -3, 10. What's our next one? -2, 7. Is that going to go on a line or between a line? On a line or between a line? Between. So 2, 4, 6, 7 would be halfway to the next line, right? Because it's an odd number and we're going by 2's. -2, 7. It fit. Okay, what's our next one? -1, 4. Are we on a line or between a line? On a line. So 2, 4. Boom. Parentheses. -1, 4. Okay. And we would keep going. So I'm going to just start getting the dots on there. Remember, every other one's going to float between, right? Because our lines are going by 2's. Every other one is an odd one, so it floats between. So I'm getting all my dots on so then I can go put my numbers on. Okay. So it asks us, what does the graph look like? What does this graph look like? Describe its shape. Describe what it looks like. So what's something we can say about what this looks like? What's some words we can use to describe what it looks like? Is it curved? That's something. What's some words we can use to describe what it looks like? What are some words we can use to describe what our graph looks like? Is this a proportional line, guys? Is this proportional? What makes it proportional? Who remembers? Because we took it on the quiz recently. What makes for proportional? What makes for proportional? If we're going to have a proportional graph, come on, we need to answer this last question. So then you're going to turn it in. It has to start at 0, 0. Does this start at 0, 0? No. So we cannot say proportional. What does it look like? What direction is it going? Is it curved? What are some things it looks like? What does it look like? A straight line going which direction? Down on the right as the X values get bigger. The Y values do what? As the X values get bigger, the Y values do what? What are the Y's doing as the X is getting bigger? What are the Y's doing as the X is getting bigger? Are the Y's getting bigger too? No, they get smaller. Okay, turn in the worksheet. Done or not, turn it in. Hit turn in. Done or not, hit turn in.